everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. This is the show where we talk about Heartland, and we are on season 7, and we are talking episodes 1, 2, and 3 of season 7. We're almost halfway through the series. Can you believe it, Michelle?
I feel like every time we start a new season, we say that because we've added another season on. I think the seasons that we've done, it's like there've been another 3 seasons.
I mean, they're already shooting season 15 right now, so
Did you see the post from Amber Marshall, who was like, I think they were like short staffed, or like Alberta's just really busy with filming, so she was like driving trucks for crew and like being a part of the crew and the lead of her own show.
no,
It's
I
like
didn't see that. Yeah, but it takes a village to make a episode of Heartland. We know
yeah, it
that.
seems so.
Yeah. Well, we left off with some excitement going into this season
Mhm.
with Jack being laid out on the ground. We don't know what was going on with him, and that was a pretty big kind of cliffhanger
Yeah,
going on to leave into this episode because, of course, everybody loves Jack.
yeah.
So that we'll see what is going to happen. Also, we had the conflict with Georgie. Is she going to get adopted? What's going to happen? So we're going into to season 7, episode 1. It's called Picking Up the Pieces. And this episode, the little summary is just as the family struggles to cope with the recent changes at the ranch, Amy realizes she must reclaim her miracle girl status and focus on her work with the horses. So, what did you overall think of this episode?
Um, Overall, I thought it was, fairly standard for like, excuse me, fairly standard for like a Heartland sort of premiere. They tend to start very soft. Nothing, major sort of happens.
Yeah.
Um, and I liked the episode. There was just 2 things that really bothered me. One was the prince, and 2 was the whole fake out with Jack, like, oh, did Jack die? We know he didn't die, but they did the exact same thing with him like a few seasons ago. So when they started doing that, I was like, oh, come on, please don't do this again. It's not just in terms of Heartland. I feel like a lot of shows do it. So yeah, I just wasn't down for
Yeah.
those 2
Well,
things.
it was kind of confusing too. Because I don't know, just the way they were acting, it wasn't even the way you'd act if he really was dead. It was like kind
It
of
wasn't like
weird.
grief stricken or anything. It was
Right,
just,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like they were trying to sort of, I don't know, sort of play it multiple different ways. And it
Right.
just strange.
Yeah, I agree. And just Tim was just, I mean,
Oh my
it's
God.
almost becoming a caricature at this point. Like he is so awful.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the worst.
come
It's not even
on.
that he's annoying and sort of frustrating. It's the way he treats his own family that frustrates me the most.
Hmm.
Like the way he just sort of pushes in and tells people what to do and how to do it when
Yeah.
I mean I know he's been back for a long time, but still it just seems like you're not really the person to come and tell people how to do something that they've been doing a long time, and doing it without your help. But yeah, it's just so rude. It's like so
He's
rude.
so selfish.
Yeah,
And
beyond.
yeah, that's right. And so Jack, he goes to Arizona. Is that right?
Yeah, like a doctor prescribed vacation, I suppose.
Yeah.
Initially, I thought he sort of was away spending time with Lisa. Initially,
Me too.
just seemed like a strange thing for Jack to do on his own.
Especially for uh it doesn't seem like he prepared things for when he would be gone,
Hmm.
you know? that
Yeah,
it just seems like maybe he left very suddenly, which wouldn't be in his character.
yeah,
Uh, but
yeah,
uh, but yeah, Tim decides to get rid of Jack's trucks so that they can have sheep. I mean, it seems like there's lots of room on Heartland Ranch.
yeah, tons,
Like,
tons.
why can't he put the sheep other somewhere else?
Yeah, like where I don't know, Lou and Peter were going to build their house or something, like there's tons of
Right.
space.
Yeah.
And getting rid of those trucks was just like beyond rude, like beyond like that is so overstepping considering like one has such like sentimental value to Jack.
Yeah.
And
And
even
we've
Tim says like I know I've been told the story so many times and it's like it's so frustrating.
yeah, and he wants to sell the rescue horses.
Yeah,
And you're just like, what is wrong with you?
yeah. I mean Jack sort of takes a step back when it comes to, Amy's business and Lou's business. If anybody knows the best thing for the horses, it's Amy.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's just feels feels like when you have a substitute teacher and the kids try to get away with stuff because
Yeah,
they know that the or they know that the teacher's gone. It just feels that kind of underhand sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
just he was so annoying. He was so annoying.
it starts out pretty dramatically with this horse on the plane
Hmm.
getting upset. And they always just do such an incredible job with these horses on
Yeah,
the show. It's unbelievable.
yeah. I never even like thought about horses being transported in that way.
Yeah.
Didn't think that was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they must have to, on occasion, have to be moved, but it seems like it would have to be a really big plane.
Yeah, very big.
And it must be really expensive too.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours.
For only like really prized horses.
Hmm.
But I
I
guess
suppose if
this,
you're a prince, you can do anything.
yeah, yeah. Was this just for some fake uh Middle Eastern country? Or did they say where he was a prince of?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I sort of was so sort of thrown that we saw Prince that I didn't actually pay attention.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
the least, if I was going to pick a show that a prince would show up on, it would not be Heartland.
right. It's true. But he is pretty angry, this prince.
Yeah, yeah,
He
and I would be absolutely fine because I've done this type of storyline before of like the angry, horse owner who softens by the end.
Mhm.
And I know through a friend who's like a fan of this actor, from another show that he comes back. I think he's like 6 episodes. Um, and so I
Oh,
knew
he
that going
does?
in. I knew that going in. So I was like, okay, so this guy's going to stick around for a little bit. But when he pushes Amy, that was when I was like done. I was like, I don't care what else they do with this character. Like that just felt like
Yeah.
a step too far.
Yeah, that's true. What else has he been in? Yeah.
I think God, what was it called?
Oh, Shadow
Or
Hunters.
the Shadow Hunters, yeah, Mortal Instruments.
Yeah, you're right. He is in 8 episodes
Yeah,
of
yeah, that was
Heartland. So yeah, it's true. That was, I mean, he just was very, very angry, and that's obviously, especially when he's like whipping the horse.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that's upsetting.
yeah. Because
And
even who was the God? Was it Jesse Hutch? His character was like super angry, but it
oh
never
yeah,
felt like he was going to like overstep or you know cause any harm to animals or people. But yeah, this guy
hmm,
just got bad vibes.
it's true. The Prince not so charming. That was a good line like that. Yeah. So, uh, we have Georgie. She wants to go to the father-daughter dance, and this was definitely the best part of this episode. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
highlight. Yeah, definitely.
It was
I'd
so
say the next two episodes, I would say the Peter Georgie stuff is gold.
yeah, and I really like Peter and Georgie together. Any scenes they've had have all been really good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And so you have Georgie and Olivia having words with each other, and she says, Olivia says, I guess that could be a problem since you don't have a father. So, what exactly is Olivia's problem? Is she just like a flat out mean girl, or is there supposed to be sort of more to her character, something going on with her family or something like that?
Yeah, it seems like it. You know, I think sorry. I think maybe this could be completely wrong, but it feels like they're sort of trying to do like an Ashley Amy dynamic.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't think maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think Ashley was ever this mean. Like I don't think she ever,
That's true. That's a good point. 'Cause she was pretty catty back in uh, the
season one.
early seasons. Ashley was, but I don't think she was ever as mean as Olivia is. I mean, it's pretty mean saying what she says about her not having a father and I mean, I don't really blame Georgie for getting upset.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, like her reaction was not great, not correct, but yeah, this is like beyond mean. It's not. I don't even think it really classed as mean. It's sort of beyond that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like it's there's Mean Girls and then there's like outright bullying
Yeah.
kind of a thing. And so the prince, he is bitter because he is failed in the horse that his father was successful in.
Mhm.
And he says, I'm not my father. And Amy says, you can still reach Amir. You need the personal connection. And Amir's the horse.
Mhm.
And so they try to kind of humanize him a little bit, but you're right. He is, Amy says, Amir needs to see you as his safe place.
Mhm.
And that's when the prince says, I'm sorry, I'm not my father. And uh, he's expecting Amy to be like the miracle girl
Mhm.
and kind of uses that as sort of as a taunt almost. So he can blame her for his problems.
Yeah.
And I again, I really liked it, when Peter and Georgie were talking about the father-daughter dance, and he says, "If you don't go, isn't that letting Olivia win?"
Yeah.
You know, so cute. They have,
Yeah. Peter's a really good dad in these episodes.
mhm, yeah, and it's just so nice to have a break from the Peter working too much,
Mhm.
Lou conflict, which just is so boring.
Mhm.
Mhm. So and Georgie says to Jack that I was scared, and that would I also love Georgie and Jack moments. That
Yeah.
was really cute.
Yeah. That was really really cute.
Mhm.
For a second, I thought that Peter might not be able to make it, and Jack would have to step in.
Mm,
And I think both would have worked, but yeah, it definitely is good that they're sort of building Georgie and Peter's relationship.
mhm. Yeah, and I, Jack was just frustrated with Tim this whole episode, rightly so. I did I really liked the whole kind of how annoyed he was with the new coffee maker. Th that whole, like, dynamic back and forth was good, and then Tim and Jack gonna find us, it's about the way you treat me, And he says, "You're the one who almost killed me in the first place." And the idea that Tim expects some kind of uh, heroics for finding Jack is just ridiculous when he was the one just a few episodes ago that punched him in the stomach.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like one cancels the other out. He's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so then the prince jumps Amir and rehires his handler guy who was he had fired earlier in the episode, and then he gives Amy a Miracle Girl saddle, and so that's kind of the end of that dynamic. And then Georgie is with Peter at the dance, and that, like I said, that scene was so cute. I loved it.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
God, what's the actress's name? I'm not sure, but yeah, she's already grown up so quick.
Yeah, Alicia Newton, I think is her name. Who plays
Yeah,
Georgie.
she's already grown up really fast. It's like, oh my God.
She's really. They had a find when they found her. She's very cute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't until the third episode when Mallory kind of shows up, and I'm like, oh yeah, Mallory. Not that I really miss Mallory, but I think having Georgie on the show sort of distracts you a little bit from
Yeah.
realizing that Mallory isn't around.
Yeah, and Mallory was different. Mallory was more uh she was less sort of sweet and more little like sassy, kind of funny. She was more
Yeah,
funny
yeah,
than Georgie. But I know I just loved uh with her being on his feet during the dance,
yeah,
and it was just so cute. I loved it.
yeah. It was really cute.
And so then you have Lou uh, and Jack talking, and uh, him saying, "Where are my trucks?" and him getting frustrated, and her being upset. I mean, obviously, very upsetting when uh, he he was, had a heart attack, and she's trying to help him to not drink so much coffee and other things like that.
Yeah,
And we see that continuing on, and the episode was dedicated to the town of High River and all the Albertans who showed incredible spirit in the face of adversity during the flood of 2013. That was interesting.
yeah.
What would you give this episode 1 to 10?
uh, Maybe like 7.5.
I think that's good. That's a good rating. Like I said, the Georgie Peter stuff gave it a big bump and left
Yeah,
me
for sure.
feeling good about it in the end.
Hmm.
So I agree. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right. So then episode 2, we have Living the Moment. And this episode, Jack is avoiding doctor's appointments while driving throughout the country with Ty, looking for his trucks. Lou and Peter delay sharing important news with Georgie when she has another confrontation with Olivia. So overall, what do you think about this episode?
Yeah, I like this one. I thought the Georgie Jack Blue stuff was, the highlight again.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'm not sure if the character of Trisha will be sticking around, but it felt like they were maybe introducing a new character. But yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, I did too. I again, like we said, I really liked the Georgie parts. So Olivia is just the worst in this episode. Like she's so rude. And I mean, you never want kids to be violent, but
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you are asking a lot. I think at this point, the two of them should just not be together.
Yeah,
Because it's unreasonable to kind of ask somebody to just be taunted and taunted and taunted and just not react in some way.
yeah. And it's, I understand the, world of TV that, you know, but it feels like we're not getting anywhere with Olivia.
Mhm.
Be, absolutely fine with it if we sort of saw a bit of an arc, but it feels like we're just doing the same thing over and over. Just seeing this little girl be so mean. Whereas with Ashley, we initially met her at not a great place, but over time, very quickly, she sort of becomes part of the group. But yeah, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen with Olivia. But yeah, I just wonder what the plan is.
Yeah, I think they were trying to maybe hint at something like that there's something going on at home or something with her because
Yeah.
the when Georgie apologizes and she talks about, well, you're different. And I don't know, there was something there, and I don't know how much they're going to go into it,
Yeah.
but uh, but I hadn't really thought about the Ashley comparison, but you're absolutely right there. Um, but I just think if I were Peter and Lou, I would just keep
Contact. Yeah.
I would just keep them apart because they're just not. It's just too much.
Hmm.
So. But so Jack and Ty find the first truck and it's crushed. And so he was very disappointed about that.
Hmm.
And I did think that it seemed harsh, unusually harsh on the part of Jack, the way he said to Ty about you're dreaming if you can afford a dump like this,
Hmm.
the property. I don't
Hmm.
know, like, that seemed harsh for his character to me to say something like that.
Yeah. I feel like they were maybe trying to, sort of get the audience to understand how much these trucks meant to him. And lashing out at Ty is sort of a way to do that. But yeah, I agree. Especially like I'm not sure how long it's been, but it feels like it's been a little bit since we've had like a Ty Jack sort of team up. Um, and when
Yeah,
they do
that's
sort of
true.
team up, it's always sort of the highlight of the one of the episodes is when
Mhm.
they're together. Because they have a really great bond, a really unique bond. Um, but yeah, I did like obviously the end of the episodes. Um, and sort of Jack gives him the normal sort of Jack pep talk. But yeah, I agree. It felt like a little out of nowhere.
Yeah, I wrote down, I was like, "That's kinda harsh." It didn't seem like his character to me,
Mhm.
because I think it was pretty clear that Ty was just kind of dreamy. I doubt he was really serious about buying the property.
Yeah, I
So,
think it was more of him just sort of imagining what his life will be.
yeah. So, there's no reason to, I don't know, to say it's a dump.
Hmm.
But uh, you have Trisha there to see the horses, and yeah, Lou invites Trisha to dinner, and Amy asks Tim to teach Trisha how to ride, and I was just like, ugh, it's
Yeah,
the
it was
worst.
so. Yeah, I really liked her, and then Tim. Oh my god! Like the second they so he gets his eyes on her, it's like, oh my god, it's so cringy and
Yeah,
uncomfortable. It's like, can you imagine that's your dad? And you're just sitting at dinner and a woman walks in and he behaves like that. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, look how great things are with me and Miranda." And it's like, you were just upset with Jack for supposedly spoiling things between you and Miranda.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like he's just the worst character. I hate him so much.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy to think that he's, been on the show since the beginning, right up until, the new season.
yeah, it makes me wish that he had just stayed on Good Witch instead. And that's because I just really, I mean, it's not that I like that this show allows for there to be conflict. I think that's good, but he's just like I said, it's becoming almost a caricature. Like it's too much.
Yeah, I'm fine with like conflict. I'm not fine with like characters sort of being stuck, and it feels like
Yeah.
that's they've sort of found a couple of little things that work for Tim, and they've just sort of repeat it over and over.
hmm Yeah, and he puts the like heavy saddle on the horse, trying to like I don't know, do what he's trying to do.
Yeah, it was almost like he was setting her up to fail so he could swoop in and be
hmm
like, "This is how it's done."
Yeah, so Jack decides that he's going to give up on finding Goldie, which was the truck uh, that not Marion, that's the daughter. I forget his Lindy, that Lindy got him, and we'd actually had a whole episode about that truck
Mhm.
when it had broke down, and then we have a really cute talk between Peter and Georgie, and he tells her about when he had a fight growing up, and that she should picture the person with a carrot up their nose. I was just gonna. That was really cute.
Yeah, Peter is like, this is. I feel like we're a broken record, but it's like this is such like peak Peter.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy that the show doesn't recognize that this is what we want.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just so like you were saying that you want to have conflict, you don't want to have the same conflict over and over again. And that's what they keep doing with Peter and Lou is having the same conflict over and over again. So when you get him with Georgie, it's refreshing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It
hmm
feels like Oma Lou, it's like they don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. And so then Jack misses his doctor's appointment, and then he has an event of indigestion, which
hmm
was pretty dramatic. And
Listen, indigestion's no joke.
and
I've pretty bad indigestion, like not for like years, but I had a couple attacks of indigestion and I literally thought I was dying. That's a bit dramatic, but
uh-huh,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm dying.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about heart disease is that it doesn't always have the left arm, feeling pain
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like those
exactly.
kinds of things. It can be a little bit weird.
Yeah. I feel like because that's what we see on TV all the time, that's kind of what we expect in real life.
hmm Yeah, and you have Jack saying, "Live like you were dying" might sound maudlin, but it ain't too far from the truth.
hmm
And Lou says, "You have to stop pretending this didn't happen. You have to take care of yourself for the family. You're my rock. You are the rock of this whole family."
hmm
And it's very true. And I feel like every family has that person that's sort of centers the whole family that everybody kind of relies on
hmm
for emotional, and a lot of times it seems like it's the mother of a family, but sometimes it's I don't know. Sometimes it's the father, sometimes it's there's uh there's just that one person that kind of everybody gets along with and everybody uh
Can
leans
rely
on.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, pe- Lou's pretty overbearing in this episode, but it's completely understandable. I mean, she's lost her mum.
Yeah.
She's kind of doing the, mum to, 2 kids by herself most of the time.
Mhm.
Multiple businesses. She's under a lot of pressure. And so, yeah, it does sort of, and then you sort of learn that your grandparents and parents are mortal and are not going to be here forever. And it does sort of rock your world when you realize that.
Yeah. And we also find out that the adoption went through for Georgie, for Peter and Lou, and they're kind of waiting for the right time to tell her.
Hmm.
And then she enters the jumping show after they're not sure if she's going to because she's grounded. And this is my my dad. Whenever we were grounded, he would sing this ridiculous song. I always think of grounded, like this thing he would sing, and we're always like, "Ah, Dad, you're such a nerd," and he is a nerd. I actually think of it. And the uh, I think it was the right decision though that they let Georgie participate in the competition because she'd worked really hard on it, and I don't
Yeah.
know, they're especially because it's not that her punching Olivia was right, but it was understandable.
Yeah.
Lou kind of says that like this girl is really mean,
Hmm.
so. And so then uh, the Georgie wins the jumping show over Olivia.
Hmm.
And so that's a good moment.
Hmm.
And then Jack agrees to go to the doctor. And then they tell Georgie the news of the adoption. And it was really cute.
Yeah. And it was really cute. I liked it. They sort of brought the fireplace thing back as well.
Yeah, I did too. Because we had that with Shane.
Hmm.
And I I think it's interesting that they have this kind of as opposed to having some kind of religious ceremony, they
Hmm.
have this kind of personal ceremony.
Yeah, it's sort of a way around the religious thing as well. It's sort of appealing to everybody that people don't feel excluded or not seen.
Yeah.
This is something that you know I'm sure a
Mhm.
lot of families have these types of traditions.
Yeah, it's cute. I like that. It's unique.
Hmm.
And the property ends up being sold. They had that really cheesy scene with Ty and Amy at the land, and they're just the way it was staged with them like practically galloping around the land hand in hand, like staring into each other's eyes, and then they that you want kids, and they definitely want kids, and I don't know, that scene was pretty cheesy. I thought it was cute, just cheesy.
Yeah, I liked Amy and Ty in the sort of next episode the most, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
I agree. It sort of felt like I don't know. Amy and Ty seem really solid in these episodes, and I feel really uneasy, like they're leading me into
Yeah, they
a
were like
false
skipping.
insecurity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like skipping around, looking into each other's eyes, like, and I guess they're young and in love. What more can you say?
yeah,
Um, but then Jack finds Goldie, so it's all okay.
yeah.
And uh, yeah, and then it ends with Georgie getting her stone in the mantle. So she's official now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So what would you give this episode out of 10?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna be a bit harsh and say, oh, I don't know, maybe 6.5. Really, because they just didn't have like a good sort of horse story in this one.
Mm, that's
Or just sort of
true. I don't know. I kind of liked this one. I liked the Georgie stuff, and I liked Jack and Ty, and Jack and Lou. Um, aside from the cheesy skipping through the property scenes, which felt almost like perfume ad or something like that. Like it was just I don't know. I maybe be a little more generous, maybe give it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Then we have episode 3 called Wrecking Ball. And this is Maggie is being sold. Maggie's is being sold, and there is impending doom upon Hudson. Buck Burger is coming to town. And this is one of those things that you see in Hallmark movies a lot with the evil corporation coming in, and why don't they just pick other land? Why do they have to replace the beloved town institution, that you see in Hallmark movies? It's like, isn't there anywhere else they can build?
Yeah.
But what do you think overall of this episode?
I mean, I like the Amy and Ty stuff. And it was great having Mallory back. I will say, like, Tim just bugs me so much in this episode.
Mhm.
And while the Lou and Peter stuff was somewhat interesting in terms of like what are they doing now, where are they going now, it was just not fun watching them argue yet again. So that brought me down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, this one wasn't my favorite. I feel like I understand that Lou is very nostalgic, but I feel like it's very unrealistic sh- that she would take on another property
I
when
know.
she already
When she doesn't
has.
have a house.
Yeah, she doesn't have a house, but she also has the Jude Ranch to take care of, plus 2 children, plus her, is she still, or did she quit from the other job completely?
I think she quit from the other
The other
job,
job.
and then there was like a blog thing that she was doing as well.
Oh yeah, the blogging, that's right. And
Don't know if
her,
she's still doing was she doing like a jam company as well? Like, I don't even know how many jobs she has at this point.
yeah, it's kind of like on, it's the same way with, in all the Hallmark shows, whether one calls the Heart or Good Witch or whatever, it's like every woman has like 3 jobs. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like everything can't have so much significant nostalgia. Like,
Yeah. And it
you
all
know,
doesn't like fall to your feet to
to
fix
save
it.
everything. Yeah, yeah. And the the whole thing with the way she treats Mallory kind of annoyed me a little bit too.
It's really, really annoying.
You know.
She just sort of considering everything that Mallory has done for her,
Hmm.
and that Mallory's sort of going through something in terms of like not knowing, what the next year is going to hold for her, or what her next move is. You'd think Lou would be a bit sympathetic towards that.
Yeah,
Mallory is
and she's
part of the
been
family.
working there for quite a while at Maggie's, and she's not like a child anymore. So,
I mean, she looks
the
after Lou's child.
yeah, the fact that she wouldn't consider her to be a manager, uh, I don't know. I didn't really like. It's one thing if she decides that's not a good fit, but she didn't even consider it. She was just kind of rude about it, which bothered me.
I mean, Soraya was a manager at the same age as.
Right. Absolutely. That's true. And she, like I said, it's not like she's just been working there a few months. She's worked there for like years at this point.
Yeah, I think at like 2 years at this point.
Yeah. And so if I think Ashley was also a manager, I mean, I know that
Yeah.
it's a lot of work and it is challenging, but I think it's not also like something that she couldn't figure out. you know, it's not
Mhm.
like you need a particular degree or something like that in order to run diner.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So,
she's probably already been doing a lot of it anyway, with
right,
Soraya being gone.
exactly. So we find out that Jake got the job in the Wild West show, and uh, so I mean I guess I think it's the next episode is Mallory's last episode.
Oh, really?
It's something. I
Mhm.
think I was looking. that I don't think she has very many left, at least.
No, that's sad.
I know. It is
But,
sad. I don't know why.
yeah.
But let me see here. Let me look.
I mean,
That-
it is good that they have like such a big cast, and that even when they go, I mean, I know that like
yeah.
Carrie's like filming this week on like the latest season, so they do bring people back, which is comforting.
Well, she does come back for 2 episodes in 2017.
Mhm.
So that would be like, what season would that be? Because it's 2013 for season 7. So season 11, I think. They bring her back for 2 episodes. And then, yeah, the penny drops is the last episode of this season that she is in. So I hope this isn't the last we hear about Jake, because I don't know, like that. It'd be cute if they ended up somehow together.
Yeah, yeah. It's
But
sort of weird that they didn't like do that storyline last season.
mhm, I agree. I don't know why. But yeah, the sorry, I lost my place. But yeah, I mean, Mallory, she's trying to talk to the mayor. She's trying to get the Maggie's declared as a historical landmark, I guess, because it's been around that long. So that way Tim can't Tim and the Buffs Burger can't invest and take it over.
Mhm.
Again, I don't understand why they don't just build somewhere else.
Huh. Yeah, exactly. If they're so desperate to get like a burger place in Heartland, like
Yeah.
Hudson, like I'm sure there's plenty of places in Hudson they could go. But yeah, Jack's so annoying. Tim's so annoying. Is like anytime there's like a business thing that pops up, he's like all gung ho about it, and then when he causes all this destruction, it falls apart, and he's like, okay, well, I'll do the next thing. He's like
Yeah.
so nonplussed about it. So annoying.
Yeah. Well, and uh, the the whole idea that it's already a successful business, so why do they need the expensive franchise fees is like a totally valid point. So why
Hmm.
not just keep, if he wants to be involved in a restaurant, which is a very risky investment, why not just
Invest in the popular
continue?
one, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's weird. And he says he's gonna be a silent investor. Yeah, right. That's not gonna happen.
Even Lou saying that she's not going to be involved in the day to day, I'm like, that doesn't seem like Lou.
Yeah. And so then there's also this whole plot with Amy and Ty and this farm where they're having infections in the horses,
Uh-huh.
and they think it's because the chickens are kept close to the horses. I didn't know that was a thing, that chickens shouldn't be around horses.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like just this particular feed that had like an ingredient in it that was toxic.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure if, maybe like a different feed would have been fine, or um if, it was the fact that they were so close. Um but yeah, I just feel like this storyline should have been more of the episodes.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like the last episode it didn't really have any kind of horror stories, and then this one it just sort of felt like kind of out of place because everything else was so sort of dramatic and um moving really fast.
Yeah, that's true. It was kind of just an afterthought. Is
Yeah. Yeah,
the
that's the right word.
Well, and they uh they throw chicken dung on Ty's car. That
Yeah,
was
that was weird.
that was
Yeah, their business is like getting bad reviews, and I don't think that behavior is gonna help them.
hmm. Well, and so then Lou and Tim are fighting, and he says, would rather be crazy than like you. So, and she thinks about, now is she going to buy the place? And Peter wants Lou to look at houses for them. And it kind of reminds me of way back on the Cosby Show. They would come up with such ridiculous constructs uh in order to keep Denise and everybody else in the house, because they needed to have the house full so there'd be enough characters for them to interact with. But like it became ridiculous that they would be still living at home, with
Hmm.
because they wanted to keep Olivia, I think was her name, with the little girl. They wanted to keep a little girl in the house. But in order to do that, they have to come up with all of these reasons. Like one season, it was all about that Denise forgot to submit the paperwork for their housing, for the military housing or whatever. And so then they have to stay at home. And you know what I mean? They're just creating all these constructs of like why they need to be at the house. And I feel like that's kind of what they're doing with Lou here, that they have to keep all these reasons why she would still need to be at Heartland Ranch in
Yeah.
order, because they want to have that dynamic of Katie there and have
Mhm.
her there and everything like that. But it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's no way that they couldn't get some kind of housing in Hudson.
Yeah. Or use the insurance money to actually build the house that they were going to build.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you do get like another house like that's not on Heartlands, that's still a place of work. So she's still going to be spending the
Right.
majority of her day and week there. But yeah, I agree. Like it does feel very because it's one of the reasons why like when a teen show gets to like the fourth season, it's like, okay, how do we get them all into the same college? Like Dawson's Creek, how do we get
Er,
them? you know, or they do like probably my favorite solution is the One Tree Hill solution where they just skip 4 years and then all the actors are actually playing like their actual ages.
right.
But yeah, it does feel like they just don't want Lou to go.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also have the drama between Amy and Ty, where Amy uh, has flushes Ty's ring, her engagement ring, and she's lost it. Uh,
Yeah,
and that whole kind of back and forth. And that was a fun little plot device.
yeah. The whole thing felt a little weird. Like, why is this happening? But it was worth it to get like Jack doing all these things to like look for it. Like, I'm sorry, but I would not be looking at a septic tank
No.
for anything. I don't care what it is.
Yeah,
I just want to
that
find a
was
new
it
one.
was funny. Jack going in the septic tank to try to find the ring. uh, and yeah, then he said, well, he's going to have to get a new ring. And then it was very sweet when he says, ring or no ring, I'll always love you. And then he proposes again. It was so cute.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite like Amy and Ty moments.
Mhm.
It's such a good like again, it just feels like they're laying it on really thick, but I feel like this moment definitely worked for me.
Mhm. Yeah, it was really cute. I enjoyed it too. And uh, yeah, that's how the episode ends. We have Buff Burgers denied because of the heritage sale, and uh, then Lou buys Maggie's, and uh, Mallory wants to be the manager. Lou doesn't think she's ready, and there we go. That's oh, and also Tim gets Katie a pony,
Yeah,
which
and
was ridiculous.
Tim and Peter who have been arguing since Peter showed up, and Tim is really, you know, oversteps and sort of makes a few digs at Peter in this episode. So it felt weird that the episode ended with them like not only going into business together, but like actively lying to Lou about it.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to say that in the last episode when they're talking about Georgie punching Olivia, and Lou says, "Well, you punched Caleb," and I'm like, he literally was given permission from Caleb
Yeah,
to punch him. It's a
yeah,
totally different situation.
and they're full they're grown up dumb men. Like
Yeah.
that's a completely different situation.
Yeah. So this one, I actually, I don't know. I actually think maybe I like this one a little less than the last one, but I still, it was fine. It was okay. I mean, Mallory's thinking of taking a gap year, so that's kind of the first little hint that we're not going to see her again much this season.
Uh-huh.
But which is bad. But I don't know. I give this one 7.5 personally. What about you?
Yeah, I'll say 7 just because it felt like there was too many storylines, and it felt like
Mm,
I wanted more of like the horse storyline and
that's
more of
true.
Mallory. It just felt really frustrating that like Mallory's kind of going through this thing and nobody was really like stepping up to help her.
Yeah, and just how Lou was treating her was a bummer.
Mhm.
But there we go. So we will be back next week for the kind of the last episode with Mallory for a little while. And so that's too bad. But it should be fun to talk about. But Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Please take a look at that. And also, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our merch store, which has Heartland inspired merch. Please take a look at that. And we have our Patreon group, which is a lot of fun. And we really, really appreciate that support. And we'll talk to you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye everyone.